If another Tournament of Power was going to happen, Team Universe 7 looks unstoppable. But of course, the other universes aren't standing still either. So let's go over how things might be different for them as well. And let's start with the obvious one, the universes that didn't compete. We can't talk about too many specifics since we haven't seen their mortals, but I really want to clear up a massive misconception here. Mortal levels. You see, mortal levels aren't the power of mortals in a universe, though that may be one factor. It's actually more so about mortal civilization quality, which is why strong universes like Universe 11 and Universe 7 aren't in the higher ranks, and why Android 17 making a selfless wish raised Universe 7's ranking, but them just winning the tournament didn't. Don't get me wrong, I think it would be interesting to see the other 4 universes compete, but don't forget, the rumor about a mortal stronger than their god of destruction was about Jiren. We haven't heard rumors about any other mortals in the multiverse, so unless a mortal comes into power off screen, Jiren might be the upper limit for unseen characters. Now let's go through the universes we do know more about and how they may be preparing just in case there's another Tournament of Power. In numerical order, Universe 2 is up first, and I think Ribrianne would still be their ace, though I think if she's going to make an impact, she'll need to be much stronger. Thematically, her learning more about love and beauty in the last tournament can help her grow, since that's where her strength comes from, so with some character development, I could see her being a notable opponent with a more nuanced view on love and beauty. But someone in Universe 2 even more interesting to me is Jimizu, someone you probably forgot, but don't worry, I'll remind you. He was the Yardrat we saw in Universe 2, and despite people thinking he was some secret universe-hopping fugitive, he actually was just a jobber. But that might be fixed this time around. Now that we know more about Yardrat techniques from the Moro arc of the Dragon Ball Super manga, we can actually see him do more than just instant transmission, and if we're lucky, he might even come up with his own new technique using spirit control. Giving characters that had potential in the last Tournament of Power but didn't use it their time to shine is probably the most interesting aspect of a second tournament. Somehow less interesting than Universe 2 though is Universe 3, and it's actually really hard to make a good case for them. Undoubtedly, the biggest threat in Universe 3 was Aniraza, but that's actually only in the anime, since in the manga he gets one-shot by Kale. I think we know firsthand that artificially enhanced enemies like androids and cyborgs could be a massive threat if they're upgraded based on research of powerful opponents. I mean, Cell Max just happened, and this is the type of technology that Universe 3 is known for. The issue is, Aniraza was so formidable because he's a fusion, and Vegeta now has a technique called Force Spirit Fission that can even separate permanently merged beings like Piccolo, Kami, and Nail. So honestly, I think Universe 3 is in a worse spot unless they prepare their regular fighters instead of relying on the power of Aniraza. The universe that doesn't need to focus on their regular fighters though is Universe 4. The biggest asset Universe 4 needs to take advantage of is Daemon size and Gamisales's invisibility. The issue will be using these key assets in new ways, since a large number of opponents will be aware of them. But if they could be used to amplify or assist teammates mid-combat, opponents could definitely be caught off guard having to fight a second opponent they didn't expect. I will say though, Universe 4 is probably the second worst off in terms of future potential, unless something drastic changes for their other members. Now we can get to what's likely the second strongest universe opposing Universe 7, Universe 6. There's a lot to cover here, so let's start with the simple stuff. Boda Magetta was a great combination that took advantage of both fighters' strengths to compensate for their weaknesses. If their teamwork is refined, they could honestly do some impressive stuff that would be hard to counter. Then we have Frost, who really depends on one thing: if he has anywhere near Frieza's potential. I could see him at least getting his own equivalent of the golden form. Maybe he could even get the fan theory favorite platinum form, and honestly, that would not be an insignificant increase in power. And maybe he could even go directly for revenge against Frieza. Of course, it isn't Universe 6 without the Universe 6 Saiyans. The story was pointing towards Caulifla getting Super Saiyan 3, and I think Cabba would come back with this form as well, though it would be funny to see them both learn Super Saiyan 3, only to then immediately show off Super Saiyan God if they train with Vados and learn God Ki. Kale is an interesting case though, where I think keeping her unique Super Saiyan forms intact makes way more sense than giving her God forms, so if she can evolve further somehow, perhaps even her own version of Super Saiyan 3, that could be devastating for the other universes. Not to mention the fact that her fighting Broly, even if she likely loses, is something that everyone is gonna want to see. I'll briefly touch on Kefla because she's popular, but it's really simple actually. No matter how strong she is, she has has the same issue as Aniraza. Vegeta can just use Force Spirit Fission to separate the fusion early, making her a non-factor in the tournament. I think this is actually a good thing, since fusions tend to diminish individual character growth when overused, so with no Kefla available, Kale and Caulifla will have to prove that they're ready for this fight with their own power and actual teamwork. In the same boat, the Universe 6 Namekians are screwed. Luckily, the manga never claims that they've merged with dozens of their own people, so maybe they'll stand a chance there, but they were also one-shot in the manga, so that might just be worse. Finally, we have Hit, who has constantly been training his time skip so he can use it in new and unique ways. If anyone could pull off some incredible upsets in the next Tournament of Power, it's the guy who can bend time to his will. Especially if he could do it in ways we've never seen before. Like, if he could pull off a small time rewind, so he could even save some of his teammates before they fall out of the arena. But that idea might just be me playing way too much Tears of the Kingdom. Then we have Universe 9, the first universe to be eliminated in the original Tournament of Power. But honestly, the only notable members are the Trio de Dangers, and even then, that's an anime-only edition. Using that version of the trio, though, they do seem to have potential, especially Bergamo, who didn't even use his Crusher ability in the actual tournament for some reason. Remember, with a limit, Bergamo can take an opponent's energy and use it against them with double the potency. It also allows him to become a giant, which worked well for characters like Aniraza without the downside of being a fusion. That being said, Forced Spirit Fission can release stolen energy as well, so if Bergamo's technique counts as that, then honestly, Universe 9 might have little to no hope. But they'll always have a little more hope than Universe 10. While Gowasu is the GOAT, as everyone knows, his team of fighters are far from great. The only memorable one is Obani, who used a gimmick to do well against Gohan for a bit before using too much of his energy too quickly and being eliminated. Other than him though, do any of these other guys even stand a chance? I can't even make up a way for them to do better. Honestly, they were just lucky to not get eliminated first in the last Tournament of Power. Finally, we have the big one, Universe 11. There are only really 3 notable members of Team Universe 11, but they genuinely have the most potential to grow into a bigger threat by the time of another Tournament of Power. Let's start with the weakest one, Dispo. Talking about the speed of light in Dragon Ball when light is shown to be faster than in the real world, and the context that speed of light is often just used as a phrase in Japanese to mean exceptionally fast in general is a separate topic, so let's not focus on the specifics too much here. We know from the Granola arc that characters can move faster than instant transmission, so there's potential for Dispo to reach that level as well, especially if he's training alongside Jiren with his newfound trust in allies. Then we have one that might not actually be relevant anymore, Topo. As we know, Belmont is looking to retire any day now, so if there's another Tournament of Power, Topo might be a God of Destruction, so he'd be unable to compete. If he isn't a God of Destruction yet, though, he will be further along in his training, and we've seen how that's worked out for Vegeta, who isn't even looking to become a God of Destruction. While the anime-only God of Destruction Topo form might not return in the way it was, it becoming his own version of Ultra Ego could make for a very powerful enemy in the same way the form grows Vegeta's power. However, I think Topo had his time, so I think making him a God of Destruction instead would actually do more for the team, like allowing him to train his teammates with the help of his new angel attendant, Margarita. But who would replace Topo then? Well, the choice is obvious to me, Belmont. If Belmont retires and becomes immortal again, assuming that's how this works, then having a former God of Destruction on Team Universe 11 would make for an exciting tournament. Toyotaro revealed to us that he used to be a member of the Pride Troopers alongside Jiren's master, Gichin, so if he returns to the group after having his own personal revelations like Jiren did, I could definitely see him competing. Belmont is obviously powerful, but we do know his old ceiling was below Jiren's power, so he's not insurmountable by any means. In the God of Destruction Battle Royale, the DBS manga's version of the Zen Exhibition, we see him using a technique powerful enough to rip through multiple God of Destruction barriers, and even after taking a head-on attack, he doesn't require healing at the end of the fight like the other gods do. There's also some level of tactical decision-making, like him taking out Sidra when he was off guard, which will be useful in another Battle Royale setting. Finally, we have Jiren. And recently, I made a short saying Jiren might fall off, and I still believe that. Making the same tournament opponent the main threat for 2 tournaments in a row isn't really Dragon Ball's approach. However, just like Hit, Ten Shinhan, and even Jackie Chung got stronger by their next appearance, I think Jiren will do the same. With the values of trust instilled in him by Universe 7, he could definitely be training with others, and maybe he'll even take the Goku approach and train with an angel to further his power. I doubt Jiren will be entirely strength-focused like he used to be, so it'll be interesting to see how that affects his fighting style. But not nearly as interesting as this possibility for the next Tournament of Power. You see, there was another set of universes that didn't compete in the last tournament. Universes 13 through 18. Obviously, these universes weren't around at the time of the last Tournament of Power, but with the effects of Android 17's wish being as vague as they were, it wouldn't surprise me if their revival was left ambiguous on purpose. Toriyama is known for doing ambiguous foreshadowing, like Oolong calling Goku a space alien in the very first arc of Dragon Ball, which eventually became true, or how Kid Goku specifically didn't kill everyone in the Red Ribbon Army, allowing future events like the Cell Saga to happen. If these universes did get revived, we could see them in another Tournament of Power, and they may be housing mortals stronger than any we've ever seen. But I actually think it'd be more likely for the next Tournament of Power to be interrupted, like the 25th Tenkaichi Budokai in the Buu Saga. It'd be extremely interesting to have the previously erased universes rebel against Zeno and the Grand Priest in some way, rather than just competing in another tournament. This would leave our team, Universe 7, with a choice to make. Side with Zeno and the unfair system of the multiverse, or the universes who are looking for revenge. Maybe that's too fanfiction sounding to really happen though. Let me know what you think below. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and thank you so very much for watching.